Hello everyone and welcome to this new video and welcome to 2022. My name is Lotta, I'm the Hoarding Puffin, and today I would like to take you along as I explain how I made my latest cosplay, which I actually finished in December of last year, but I didn't get around to finishing the video until just now. And that would be my Kaz Brekker cosplay. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with either the Shadow and Bone Netflix series or the Grishaverse book series, Kaz Brekker is a character from that. He is the leader of the so-called Crows, and the Crows are a group of 6 kind of miscellaneous people that are kind of outcasts in society, but that have special skills and qualities for which Kaz specifically got them together to work for him and with him. And basically the way to summarize Six of Crows, I think, without spoilers, is fantasy, a wee bit magic, heists. It's kind of magical heists, really. So I kind of sat there and looked between Wylan and Kaz and Matthias for myself, and I was like, don't want to cosplay Matthias because I think he's an interesting character. There's not, it's just it just didn't fit quite right. And while I absolutely adore Wylan, and actually in one of the D&D campaigns I'm currently playing, we have an NPC who's kind of based on Wylan, and he's only been there once, but I love him. The vibe is just amazing. But anyway, I didn't quite feel that either, and that just left Kaz, really. And honestly, Kaz is my favorite of the Crows, even though, you know, all of them are amazing. And he's actually battling with Nina, probably. But there's just something about Kaz Brekker that I find really interesting, both from a reader's perspective and the perspective of someone who writes herself. Now, I could have gone the route of cosplaying from the show or from the official artwork, which always shows him in a suit with a hat and stuff, and I pretty much stuck to that and his color scheme and the suits he does wear in the book. But I put a twist to it, because you see, and I mentioned this before, I believe, in my Red Robin video, I'm not hugely comfortable presenting masculine. I am experimenting with this. For example, in last year I cosplayed the character of Wilbur Soot from the Dream SMP, and I experimented with more masculine looks there, and I really vibed with it. Like, that was great. I didn't want to chest bind and wear a masculine suit that didn't quite go with my style, with what I was comfortable with. And also, if I'm gonna sit down and hand sew, because for those of you that are unfamiliar with my channel, I always hand sew everything. If I choose to sit down for a long amount of time and hand sew these garments, might as well something that fits my personal style, so I could wear them out of cosplay. And that is the reason I opted for a femme version of Kaz Brekker, still sticking to his color scheme and the theme, Jesus, language in English, it's a thing, to his theme of wearing suits, but to make it more inspired by my favorite history bounders, such as Bernard Banner, by adding a long skirt and just a tailored waistcoat. Well, it's not technically tailored, because I do not possess the skill of tailoring, but I try to imitate the look of something tailored, if that makes sense. I really only had to make 2 things, because the rest I wasn't comfortable making, and I didn't believe in my skill to make it, so I didn't, and instead opted for buying them. Those were a shirt with very big bishop sleeves, which are the ones that are like start small, slim, billow out, and then come to a collective point of a cuff around the wrist. Another quick note, the character of Kaz Brekker is canonically disabled, and he uses a mobility aid in the shape of a cane. So to complete the cosplay, I did purchase a cane, and I want to address this really quick, because I didn't buy it just for the cosplay. I had been toying with the thought of buying a cane just for myself for a longer amount of time, not for style, for reasons that I won't be getting into, because my personal medical history and my own issues like that do not need to be on the internet. But I feel like I need to address this because I've been actually considering putting off this cosplay and just not doing it for a long amount of time because this character is disabled and I am what would be phrased as able-bodied. The disabilities I do have are invisible disabilities. They do not affect my ability to walk anywhere, to take stairs, etc. And the cosplay community is very ableist. And disabled cosplayers, especially those that do use mobility aids, get bullied so horribly. I've been considering putting off this cosplay for a while and then I didn't. I decided to go for this because, like I said, I wanted a cane for personal reasons before I even considered doing this cosplay. And it felt more like, to me, it's now worth it getting the cane. I don't know. I sometimes am in a weird mood where I need to justify things to myself. Like in a way of like, no, you're allowed to do this. So it just felt nicer to not just go, I occasionally want for a cane in my everyday life, to having a more specific reason to use it, I suppose. But also, let me preface this, I live in a country, I'm fortunate enough to live in a country that has universal healthcare. And I bought this cane for my own money, and it's not a medical grade cane. Like the question mark ones, you see, those are considered medical grade in my country. I went for a walking cane, which is more targeted towards elderly people and people who might just want one to have as they take longer walks or as they go for a hike, even though this one I would say is very impractical for a hike. Point being, this is not a medical grade device, a mobility aid, and I also live in a country that has healthcare that is universal, so I'm not taking away a resource from a person that does need it in everyday life. This was important to me to say. The character also has gloves. They are very characteristic for him. They are very important. Again, I won't spoil, but they are important to his character. And as much as I wanted to buy those leather gloves secondhand or maybe get to a glove maker, things didn't work out, both with timing and money and just ability to find something. So I ended up buying them from a fast fashion brand. Which, to be fair, literally almost every brand that exists currently is fast fashion. Even luxury brands, expensive brands, usually are considered fast fashion. So it's really, really difficult to avoid that in the first place. Anyways, with the things that I had to buy being bought, I really was only left with 2 more pieces that I had to make. The skirt and the waistcoat. And I suppose now we can finally get into the making portion of this video. Woohoo! For the waistcoat, I recycled linen from a skirt that I made that I wasn't happy with, so I just cut it apart and used it for the waistcoat. And I didn't end up getting too much footage of me making the waistcoat because the lighting was horrendous and I managed to have it out of focus and my hand in the shot. I don't know, it was cursed. It wasn't meant to be. It didn't work out. I didn't really get any good footage of it. But I just used a waistcoat pattern that I already had that I use for literally every waistcoat and bodice I make. Well, other than dress bodices, for those I have separate patterns, but I used this way back when I made it for my Mary waistcoat, which was maybe actually might have been one of the first cosplay videos on this channel. And I reused it for a lot of waistcoats that I made off camera. I used it for the bodice portion of my Red Robin suit, and now I used it again. And I just really made it a simple black waistcoat with a V-shaped neckline, and then I realized I wanted lapels, so I had to add those in hindsight, so those are not made correctly. And the lapels I added embroidery onto, some red detailing, because just black just looked a bit bland. and then 2 little bird skulls, because bird imagery and bird skull imagery is also ingrained with this character. And also, I just like the aesthetic of it, gonna be honest. As for the skirt, I wanted a floor-length circle skirt, which that's very difficult. Try finding enough fabric with that. I ended up going for a 3.5, I believe, meters of a simple black cotton, and it's not a full circle skirt, but it's pretty dang close. And I just traced a skirt I already had that is a full circle skirt, and I measured and I cut it out and I sewed it together. I also made pockets because honestly, what is a good skirt without pockets? And again, I didn't film too much because I made this very rushed, pretty much right before Christmas, so I could still record some videos and take pictures with it. And there's not a whole lot to say about it because it's really just a lot of straight down seams and a waistband and a zipper. And honestly, if you want more specific instructions, you should probably just look up circle skirt tutorial on YouTube. There is an abundance of them and I felt it unnecessary to make my own to add to the mix.